What's going on, guys? We've got episode 5 of the 1,000,001 podcast, Dexplod TCG, and no time to explain here. We've got a full docket today. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
I've had a very productive day. I've gotten a lot done. Besides that, I'm going to be up late, so it's part of the night owl lifestyle, so it is what it is. But
We're all gonna be up late.
we got some stuff to talk about today. We got some funny stuff to talk about, and yeah, no serious stuff for sure. We'll try to lay off serious stuff. Nobody wants the serious stuff. It's
Oh, please,
possible.
we'll never talk about serious stuff.
Right.
Everything will be jokes.
So basically, we've got a little bit of everything on the docket today. I wanted to start out with talking about Facebook and the TCG community on Facebook. I asked you about this before the podcast, and you already had emotions regarding it. So,
Yeah, because I,
what's your
I, I despise
experience?
my Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
They're
everybody does, and I feel like one of the main culprits is like the selling circles where you have what I call the price police. Have you ever dealt with the price police?
a couple times. See,
Yeah.
so here's part of that for me. So my old group used to do stuff like that. My new groups, not so much anymore because they don't post any sales, but they just
Okay.
say and do and ask some of the dumbest things. And the way the group is set up is like it has to go through admin approval. And I'm like, while you're waiting 30, 45 minutes for admin approval, you could have just looked it up and got your answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of my groups I'm in are for sales, and I've had a lot of instances where the price police come for me, and like, so I'll post a card. And so my first instance of this is when I had the Greninja EX.
Hmm.
I got 2 packs from Target of the Twilight Masquerade, and the Greninja Chase card at the time I opened those packs was $200. It was the
Oof.
Chase card of the set. And so mainly I was opening Battle of Legends Terminal Revenge packs. And so I went to Target after work, and I was mainly going to get Terminal Revenge. And then I saw Twilight Masquerade had just been stocked, and I was like, I'll get a couple Twilight Masquerades as well. So I
You're
just
like,
grabbed the two right
why
off the front.
not?
Yeah, usually I like to massage the stacks of blisters, and I'll you know what, I have no shame. Megan kind of cringes sometimes when we'll go to Target and I pick out packs because I will do it. I will remove like 20 blisters from the rack and then grab the 21st one and pull it off. I'm just like that. I'm wild like that.
You know what? We have a similarity because this is what I've been doing. If I buy a bunch of blisters from Target, I will literally pull the whole rack out, separate them into two separate piles, shuffle them, and then grab
That's how
my
you got to
20
do it.
something.
That's how you got to do it. So, anyways, I didn't do that this time. I just grabbed two right off the front, walk
Hmm.
home or drive home rather, and yeah, the
I was
Greninja
like,
was
Megan,
in the
Megan made you
second
walk
pack.
down.
Yeah, the Greninja was in the second pack, and at the time I pulled it, it was $200. I went nuts. It was crazy. And then, it was like not even a week and a half later, it had shot up to $300.
Hmm.
And so I have experience from both eBay and TCG Player, and so I kind of know how the two kind of intertwine. And so on the eBay side, I noticed the card had just sold for $315.
Hmm.
And so I was like, all right, I see that. So I go to Facebook in this marketplace I'm in this group that I'm in, and I post it for $300 or best offer, by the way.
Yeah, it's just like,
And right. And I include screenshots of the eBay sale, right?
mhm.
There's like two of them. There's 290, 295, 315, 300. So I was right in the ballpark. And so I got like 12 comments. It's like, dude, you need to like. He's like, where are you getting this price from? Where are you? What made you come up with that price? Like, there's literally 10 people that commented on. I'm like, it's in the post. There's screenshots in the post, and I would literally respond to these guys and be like, okay, officer, hold on, let me pull out my identification, my insurance, and
Okay,
that's what I
Officer
say, quote for
Barbrady.
quote. Yeah, right. And so, dude, it's crazy how people price shame on these groups, and all it is people that are jealous of the card. I don't understand this fascination that people have with the market and trying to say stuff is overhyped. And a lot of people base their claims off of so many new people entering the hobby, and they're just frustrated with that it's bringing all the market prices up. But that's a market. That's how that works.
Well, is
You know?
that, and I think it's also the chance of number one thing I see when people are selling stuff or listing things, they're just like, oh, I'll sell it for 20% below TCG low prices. I'm just like, so you want me to lose 20% of the card's value just for you to get it? Like, I get TCG players going to take it out of, like, they take
12.
their fee and stuff
I
like
think
that.
it's like 10% that
It's between 10 and
take.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so I have to take 20% off the lowest offer to sell it to you, or I could probably sell it at its market price on the same place and make more money and do it that way, or sell it on eBay and do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's wild, dude. People just want the biggest deal that they can possibly get, and I have no shame in that. Like, I try to do the same thing,
oh yeah,
but it is kind of crazy what they expect. Like, that's just kind of how business goes in a way, because people take business people as heartless people that just care about money, but at the same time, like, you can't really finger point in that situation. Everybody likes saving money, like, and you can't think of it as like only your side saves money if I give and like let go of said percentage that you want. Like, I'm trying to save money as well by not giving you the best deal and giving a fair deal rather than, fire selling everything, or, giving you, obviously you run deals, but like, to say that sellers owe buyers a premium over a price that's fair, it's kind of crazy, but people do expect it, and it is what it is, and they'll get it too. They'll get it
yeah,
because it's TCG player. It's just a race to the bottom, right? People try to get the lowest price.
yeah. Like one thing I love about my locals, because there's a couple guys that I've traded with and bought stuff from, and like I guess they're used to the like always having to be like aggressive with the deals, and
Hmm.
I'm like, dude, I don't have time for that shit. I just look, if
Yeah,
the average selling price of this card is $50, I will give you either $50 worth of value, or I'll give you $50 and call it a
yeah.
day. And the last trade I did is when I got my Deception of the Sinful Spoils. My boy was just like, um, hey, I owe you a couple dollars. I'm like, I'm not crying over $3. Just like, just take it. I don't care.
Yeah,
Like, I need this
right.
card. I know you're short $3. And there was been numerous times that happened. I'm like, dude, buy me a soda out the pop machine and we're good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is like, I'm not going to hound you over a couple dollars. And I kind of just live that philosophy and try to make things as easy as possible because I just don't want to deal with it. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's there's a lot of different instances, and obviously there's such thing as being a charitable person, or just trying to pay it forward in some instances. But again, it's kind of what I learned in school. It's just like business kind of gets a bad rap, just because at the end of the day, a couple bad apples here and then can kind of change the whole entire thing. But it is what it is, and we're all just trying to better our collections. And
There was one moment I was a price police for a second, but it wasn't
okay,
publicly. So, and I might have briefly told you the story and I just don't remember, but there's a guy that was trying to sell the Adidas Dark Magician.
okay,
And, and I think he was trying to get like $300 for it or whatever it was. So Sent the pictures of it and posted it. He's just like, "Oh, I'm asking $300 or best offer." And instead of like, I don't like to do this publicly with people, so I DM'd him and I'm like, "Hey, where'd you get this price from?" And he was just like, "Oh, I've been seeing it on eBay, and I've been like, I heard this car is very valuable and it was rare." And I'm like, "It's not that rare. Like, anybody can literally go to StockX right now, buy the cheapest size or the smallest size of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Adidas shoes that the card came in for $100,
Yeah. Well, that's
and the
technically
shoes
what it
retail.
goes for too, right? What was the card going for?
I think the card itself was like $150 at the time, just
Yeah.
raw.
Yeah, I knew it
The
hovered
shoe,
around there.
yeah, the shoes cost $150 retail if you could have bought them through Adidas when they came out. But of course, those got scalped because it's shoes and it's a Yu-Gi-Oh card in it. So, like, the shoes were selling generally with the card at that time around $250. But as time passed, like, people were trying to offload their inventory and they stopped selling it. So now you can like buy like a size 8 and for like $80. And then by the time you factor in fees and stuff, it's $100. So
Yeah. Hey.
so I had showed it to him and I told him, I was like, "Hey, I could buy the shoes and just like donate the shoes to like Salvation Army or whatever it is, but get like, a brand new card for under that $100 pricing." And I told him, like, if you're gonna sell it for $300, you need to get it graded because that's the only way you're gonna get like $300 for it at that point
Mm-hmm.
in time.
Yeah. And that goes into like people wanting to sell cards for what they think it's going to grade for and all that. That's a whole nother mess. But
That's why you get it
yeah,
graded first.
yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of those instances, and I don't think it's bad to be the price police. Let's tone that back because I have been it too. Sometimes like it'll just be an insulting price, like, and you obviously people don't want people to get like ripped off and stuff like that, but really when it's just blatantly just what are you doing, man? Sometimes you can't help it. There was one time on eBay where someone was selling the what is it, the 4-pack blaster of Yu-Gi-Oh cards they do now, the mini boxes, right? Is that
You know,
they just call
the
them mini
Walmart
boxes?
boxes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They were selling one of those on eBay, and they wanted it's like $100 for it, and this was at release, so these aren't hard to get, and
Yeah, like those are $20 boxes.
they were calling it a booster box, and so I think it's just someone who didn't
Oh,
know what they had, and so I literally messaged him like, these are $20 at Walmart. Like, what do you? You might want to research that, right? And so sometimes you'll get stuff like that. One more thing, just kind of interjection here. I have kind of like, I don't want to say respect because internet trolls should not be respected,
no.
but I have like an admiration for some of their savvy, right?
Hmm.
Some ways you see people that are able to get under skin by just such people are able to nitpick so well online, right? And so I have an admiration for the savviness of that. But at the same time, there was a guy on this Facebook marketplace or Facebook group that I'm in, and he kept posting fake Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Ugh.
And it wasn't that like people would have theirs for sale. And so that's why I think this guy was a troll. But maybe not. People would have like theirs for sale and they would have their buy it now price on it, right? On
Hmm.
this group. And he would come in the comments and say, "Yeah, you're selling this way too cheap. I have one of these." And he would post a comment with a picture of the fake card. And I like to think that he was joking. But here's the problem. He kept doing this. And I'm not talking like 2 or 3 times. I'm talking like 25 times on different, like, this. I don't know where he was getting all of these fake cards, because they were like, they weren't decent fakes. They were blatantly
It's like
fake.
you look at them and it's just like they're fake.
And so, like, and he was getting like 23 people to comment every single time. Dude, you realize these aren't real? And every single time he was adamant. He was like, "You guys just don't know what you're talking about, okay? Like, you guys just do not get it." And
Master of the
so,
fleets.
right, right. And so it was just so funny. And I would see this, and I'm trying to think. Was this all planned? Is he just a troll? I lean towards that he wasn't, and he just has a love for the game and is getting all of his cards
From the flea market.
from the flea market or his own printer. They were bad. Like, they were very bad fakes, and so that was one of the wildest things I've seen on a Facebook group for sure.
Now, the only thing that bugged me about the fakes on the Facebook groups is like everybody posts them and it's like, hey, yo, how much is this card worth? And it's just like, dog.
It there's a lot to that.
It'd be like, it's like Dark Master, which has the full Exodia art on it. I'm just like, bro, can we please not do this?
Yeah. Great caveat into a story I had told you that I want to tell, and you don't know all the ins and outs to this story.
So, you had me at the hook when you kind of briefly told me what was going on.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
tell this
spoil
illustrious story.
anything. Okay. So I'm in one of these Facebook groups, and someone posts a Dragon Master Magia card. And I've had a lot of run-ins with this where when I see a scammer, sometimes I'm bored enough and I love the game enough, I like to mess with these scammers and kind of loop them in, act like I'm going to buy a card, and just making a preposterous story to keep them in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had this Dragon Master Magia card, and he had it for like $700 OBO, which was right at the time. It was like $725. This was early on. And
Yeah,
so,
because it started at 500 and then peaked at 7, and now it's sitting
Right.
at like 9.
right. So right away on this card, I knew that he didn't have it because his timestamp for the card was photoshopped in, and nobody's going to do that. And it wasn't just photoshopped in like you could blatantly tell that it was photoshopped in, because sometimes people will do that, right? Because they just don't have time. It's frowned upon. It doesn't work. You should never accept that. But he used a piece of notebook paper, and the notebook paper, like, you can see that it's like wide ruled. It's end to end, but it's smaller than the card. So,
Yeah, I've seen those where they have like the template where it shows like the notebook paper and they just modify the date.
right.
So I've seen those before.
Right. So anyway, I message him, and I actually have I have it. Hold on. So I message him and I say, well, first I claimed it on the post, and the reason I did this was that nobody else would buy it, right?
Mhm.
So I claim it on the comments, and then I message him and he goes, "Hello, where am I shipping to? I just saw your message on the comment session." Okay. And so I ask him for another pick, and I say, "I'm in Peru, but I can pay extra for shipping." And he goes, "What payment method goes with you?" And here's where it gets juicy. So I respond, "Well, that's what I wanted to see. My father's a farmer, and he has no bleeping clue I'm buying this with my weekly allowance. Is there any way I could mail you some shipments of our finest corn, and there will be $20 bills inside the stocks so that Daddy doesn't know?" And he says, "I have PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle. Anyone works with you, okay?"
First of all, pause.
Okay.
Pause.
Okay, go ahead.
I have corn that I've laced with $20 bills that I will send you. Well, first and foremost, the fact that he didn't even red flag that,
Yeah, no, yeah. It's
You're like,
obvious.
okay, you're clearly a scam slash a bot
Yeah,
because
for
like
sure.
any normal human being would have been like, what?
Right, 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 right. So he says, firstly, send me your full address so I can know exactly where I'm shipping to. And I say, okay. And the address I sent to him was 201 Scamming Road. I know it's a scam, Kentucky 76104. And he responds, what is all this about? Get the bleep out of here. I'm not interested in this, your shit. Yeah. And I sent like 1,000 crying, laughing emojis and blocked him.
Oh my god.
And so this is where it gets even better. So I had told him that I didn't want my dad to know that I was buying this card off of him. And so I come back in, make a different Facebook with the name Kurt, and I put an older man's picture on the profile. And then in the header, I put a tractor, farming corn. And so I I message him with the Kurt account, and I say, "Hello, is your Dragon Master Magia still available?" And he responds. He says, "Yes," and we kind of go through the same jive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him a runabout, so he blocked me after this second incident, right? He kind of figured everything out.
Yeah.
But at one point in the process, I'm like, "Hey, I just want to make sure my stupid son wasn't trying to buy this card from you, was he?" And he still didn't put two and two together. And he was just
He's like,
like,
the
he
hell?
was, he was just like, how do I get my money? How do I get? And a big one we missed was I asked him, do you he was asking about form of payment. I was like, do you have Zimmer? Like, I
Zimmer?
was I was making some fake like PayPal looking stuff up. Like
Oh
I
my
went the whole
god.
9 yards for this. But
Do you have Zimmer?
eventually this guy just absolutely went off on me. He was so mad. And I've done this a few different times on occasion, and it's just one of the most fun things ever. I kind of do it with scam like texts, or like sometimes I'll do it with political texts
Mm-hmm.
when I get like stuff for like the election or whatnot. Like
I've done that once or
hold
twice.
on, I'll get the thing went off again, but I'll get it for like political apps or political text messages, and I'll respond with just preposterous things, and it's just so fun. I remember one time I did it to one of like the polling texts, and the guy that was behind it wrote back, and he was just like, "Dude, that was awesome!" Like I sent the most off the wall stuff to him, and it's just so funny to see it because sometimes it'll make people's day. I remember I did okay caveat. I remember I did it. So this place, when I was looking for a job last year, this place did it to me where I put my number on ZipRecruiter. I think this is ZipRecruiter's fault. Worst idea ever because so many pyramid schemes started hitting me up. It was the worst. It was legitimately the worst. And there was this one place that really wanted me to work there. I'm like almost 100% sure it was a pyramid scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kept texting me trying to set up an interview. And the way I know that something's awry with it is that they didn't give me a job description. They're like, "Yeah, can we just meet for an interview?" I'm like, "What job is this for?" They're like, "Oh, it's for this company. We'll talk to you when you get here." And I'm like, "That's that's not how this works. That's just not how this works." So anyway, they keep sending me messages. They're like, "When can you interview? When can you interview?" And so it got really annoying because I had already found a place I was working I really liked. And so I tell them, "Hey, please take my name off of your message list. I don't want to be contacted anymore." I told them this twice. They kept messaging. And so I think it was like some lady named Jasmine or something messages me the next day, again, just trying to get me to work for him. And I told her, I literally just sent a text, "Please F off." but I said the full word.
Yeah.
And 3 hours later, I kid you not, I get a text back from her. It said, "Since you said please." Dog, it was legendary.
Hey, at least you said
Legendary.
please. At
Right.
least you said
Right.
please.
And so honestly, like some people will report a person like that. I mean, you can't say that to somebody, right? But I texted her back. I texted her back, and I was like, honestly, that response just made my day. Thank you very much.
Now, the wildest thing I've ever said to somebody, because they were actually like, I was getting the spam calls. It's like, oh, we want to hire you for such and such and such. And we've, I forgot how they worded it because I might have deleted the text message, but they were just like, oh, we've seen your work and we're interested. It's like we're interested in bringing you aboard. And my exact response was, "You've watched my multiple GB videos with horses." And they just stopped texting me at that point in time. And my boy was just like, "What if that was a real job?" I said, "Well, joke's on them." But at the same time, I'm like, first and foremost, I didn't apply for anybody. So, and like, who
Right.
just texts you random numbers and says, "Hey, I want you to apply." He's like, I want to interview you for a position. For what?
For,
I don't know you.
very, very, very similar to my situation, but
Mm.
I mean that's just how it goes. But scams are funny, man. I mean,
They can be
sometimes,
as long as you know they're scams.
right? Well, yeah. I mean, you have to know the right signs. I mean, you can't just go in there willy nilly and try to mess with people that are innocent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time, they're just so easy to spot, right? Because the people doing them, they don't. You're not going to find an expert diamond thief, right? It's
And nowadays they're lazy because they use the same terminology.
right, right,
Like a
yeah.
lot of them aren't even like different. Like it'll be a different name and a different company name, but they'll all be exactly the same thing. It's just like, dude, like, give me some effort.
Right, right, yeah. That's couldn't have said it better. Yeah, but that's that's a good stopping place for Facebook. I mean, we gave Facebook like a whole look there. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff we'll remember from time to time, but man, that's good stuff, man. But I
Yeah.
mean, I wanted to get into some other stuff too. So I kind of wanted to talk about the OG anime a little bit
The best
and
anime?
the best.
The best
So
anime?
I haven't. Okay, hand up. I finished the original anime. My childhood cut off GX. When GX hit, it was kind of that period some people have where you kind of drop Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. You're looking at other stuff like sports and whatnot, and then you come back. Some people it happens that way. Some people you're just through and through. For
Yeah,
me,
I made it through
GX
GX
era cut
myself.
off.
Yeah, I made it through GX, even though it wasn't finished in America.
Hmm.
And then when 5Ds came out was when I was starting college, so I was semi-retired at that point in time. Because
Right,
I stopped
right,
playing the game right around Synchro Summoning era. So that'd have been
yeah,
5Ds.
yeah. So for me, I'm gonna watch the GX pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about it. So obviously I'll have more to compare it against, but obviously OG is the best and it's very mainstream, but what I wanted to talk about cuz it is a good touch point. Who do you like and relate with more, Kaiba or Yugi? I'll let you start.
So I love Kaiba. I love Kaiba, but I relate to Yugi. Like if I was to match my lifestyle and like upbringing and just like stuff growing up, I definitely related to little Yugi. Being like the smaller person, not so tough, um, had bigger friends that had his back and stuff like that. And it was more just like the quiet person in the background. But Kaiba as a character is just Kaiba has so many layers to himself because he always comes off as the rich dick, but he's actually not that bad. he just had a terrible stepfather, and because he was raised in the business environment, it has just made him cold and cynical. And until you mess with something that he cared about, which was basically Mokuba. Like, you can mess with Kaiba Corp and he'd try to kill you, but if you mess with Mokuba, like, you really got him at a weak point. But in terms of like his arrogance and his character development, and just my personal favorite, which was from the last movie they made, which is Dark Side of the Dimensions, like the fact that's like, bro, you spent billions of dollars in 5 years chasing an L. Because you just like, I have to beat the Pharaoh. I'm like, you did all of this work, made a space station, a dimensional portal and thing, and hunt down the Millennium Puzzle to chase an L.
Yeah, it's tough. The second time I watched it through, it is definitely tough because, man, he takes so many L's,
but they're self-inflicted wounds. That's what makes it even funnier. Like, he's the mastermind. He's just like, I have the perfect strategy. I have all this prep. I've practiced against your deck like thousands of times. I have all the strategies together, but he always loses.
You gotta admit, and this kind of on my side, I still think I still, so you went with Yugi. I think I have to go with Kaiba.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I always, like, want stuff that's out of my reach. And, like, I like going after big goals, and I'm more of, like, a completionist kind of person. And, like, I'm just a very competitive person. I would have to side with Kaiba, and, man, watching it the second time through, that dude's so sick. He is so cool. Like,
he's a flex.
He just is. He just is. Everything he does is so hard. Like the whole uniform he wears,
his quotes,
the way his quotes, the way he presents himself. I also like that, like, he has a huge respect for for winning the right way, and like doing things going the path of least resistance and stuff like that. There's lots of that stuff in there that's just so cool, and obviously we don't pick up on that as a kid, but man,
you catch as an adult.
Kaiba's a gangster. Like,
dude, all-time favorite Kaiba moment for me was during the Waking the Dragon series when he heard Yugi lost, and he looked in his eyes because he didn't believe it. But when he saw Yugi's face, and he just ignored everything Joey and them had told him and just snapped and just like, you're a disgrace to the game.
Yes.
Hung the phone up.
Yes.
He said, you lost your championship title to a nobody, you're a disgrace to the game, and just hangs the phone up.
He just loves the game. That's part of it. That's why he's so cool. He loves the game. The game is him. It is life. And, man, you just got to have so much admiration for that. I just loved watching it.
And then him losing at his own tournament.
Right. I mean, we got Yugi cheating all the time, right? It's kind of a tough life out there. But
plot armor and the Millennium Puzzle.
Part of that, it always gets me that there's a TikTok somebody made where it's Yugi, it's Pharaoh like pulling the pot of greed like over and over again. And I summon Pot of Greed.
As long as I draw 4 cards and I play another Pot of Greed.
And Weevil's just like, it doesn't work like that. This is not how anything works. Just doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of Weevil, his hardest moment was when Yugi just beat the dog crap out of him.
Yeah.
In the Waking of Dragons 2 when he pissed him off and he just kept attacking him over it. And of course, in Japan, he was like Monster Kato instead of another monster card, so it was much more iconic in the sub.
He's the one that yeeted the Exodia pieces off the boat, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He got his own form of humiliation in his own way, but because he cheated every time he played because he threw away the Exodia pieces. He lured Yugi into the field. They gave him the advantage. When he dueled Joey, he slid the parasite in his deck. And then he didn't do anything. His new deck when he fought him in the Orichalcos was different, but he really didn't cheat in that one. But he just had a cheap strategy. But for the most part, like him and Rex were to be regional champions to need to resort to cheating to win was kind of like depressing.
Dude, the Orichalcos season, the Orichalcos Yu-Gi-Oh season, with my like nostalgia, is similar. It has a similar effect on my mental state that McDonald's Sprite has on my taste buds. Like it makes your whole body feel like TV static. That's
Mm-hmm.
what the Orichalco season does to my mind. It is just such a vivid season. What a great season that was. I watched that over. Again, I watched this over recently, and watching the OG as a kid and watching it as an adult. It's such a cool experience to have. And if you haven't done it recently, I welcome you to, because you just notice so many more things. But that's the thing, dude. The Orichalco season, and it was brutal. I mean, what a it was.
Yeah, there were no games played with that season.
Oh
Like,
no, dude. You lose this duel, you're dead.
your soul is mine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what a crazy time to be alive during that. I mean, and the
My only
Ori.
gripe with my only gripe with the show, and this is one of those things, is like reading the manga and everything else in between, is that no one talked about what the Millennium Puzzle actually did.
Yeah, it makes the
Like,
noise.
yeah, like, well, every Millennium item, they're just like, oh, Pegasus was like, oh, I can see into your mind, or Shoddy with the key, I can unlock like I can go into your soul and see what's inside and use a scale to judge if you're good or bad. The ring found the other Millennium items and also housed the spirit of the bandit. And then the rod allowed you to control people, and the necklace saw the future and all that other stuff. Like, all the Millennium items had abilities and powers, but no one ever, I guess they just didn't know, but they just never once brought up the idea of like, okay, why is everybody after the puzzle outside of it being the mark of the Pharaoh? Like, what does a puzzle do of anything else? And all it does was increase your luck.
Yeah, I honestly, again, I'm kind of a noob with like the manga stuff and all of that, so I didn't even know that. So again, I'm learning, but I did
So
not know that it was luck.
there were two things that were played in the manga in the early days. At first, the idea was the wearer of the puzzle couldn't lose, which was the idea of why they had to beat the Pharaoh to get the puzzle from him.
Ah,
But later on, it was better translated that all it really did was gave you a luck boost when you needed it.
interesting.
So,
So Kaiba should have been after the Millennium Puzzle, not
well,
the guy.
Kaiba didn't. Remember, Kaiba didn't care. Like,
Mhm.
Kaiba thought it was nonsense, even
Right,
though
right, right, right.
he was linked to the rod and the puzzle, because his since he was one of the Pharaoh's guards, his ancestor carried the Millennium Rod, and then when he became Pharaoh, he eventually got the puzzle. So Kaiba was really linked to it, but he just didn't believe it and didn't care. It was everybody else that was after it.
Kaiba deals in absolutes, right? He sees it's what he sees right in front of him. He's no fool.
Yeah, no, he's like, I dot my I's and cross my T's. Like, if I can't see it or rationalize it, it's stupid and it's not real.
Yeah. Well, sort of a caveat to that: the Orichalco's dual disc, bruh.
The best dual disc,
Oh man,
the best one.
when they started throwing their arms up and that thing would just chasm out. Oh boy, that was so sick. And
When they made a toy of that, that was like the best one to get, and I
I was
unfortunately
so
never got one.
I had I think it was did Hasbro make them, or was it
I think
I think it was.
so.
Hasbro made them, and obviously it was the most uncomfortable thing ever to wear.
Yeah.
But I had the original one. I remember my one of my best friends, he got the Orichalcos one, and man, and he had both on top of it. And dude, I looked at him like he was a god. Basically, I was like, dude, this is so sick. How'd you get that? Like.
And it was well built and it was compact. of all the dual discs, it's like, okay, because of how it operated and how it retracted, it was just the better model between the two of them.
Yeah. And again, I don't know nothing about that GX dual disc. We'll get there, but it's
It
pretty sick too.
it just was a student version of. It was kind of like mixing both dual discs together because it retracted out like the Orichalcos one to a degree, but instead of it being like small piece and then went to a long one, it was like kind of like how the original dual disc was folded. You saw part of it and then the top part slid out. So for the most part, it was like a hybrid of the two. But since it was used for a school, it really wasn't. It wasn't really anything to talk about. Crowler's dual disc, the one he had sitting like a guitar, that was the one to really look at.
Crowler.
Yes, he was the professor.
Let me look this up because
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Professor Violent Crowler. He was the ancient gear golem duelist, but he had a special dual disc that basically sat on his
So was
chest.
this in GX?
Yeah, he was the
Okay, that's why I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. It's very sick.
yeah yeah.
Did
He's
they
one
ever
of the
make a
main professors.
Did they ever make like a replica of that?
No,
Well, I see a guy here that's got like a custom one that's pretty sick. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, dual discs are a flavor of their own. Like I feel like no one can actually use those and like be good at Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, that's not true. But you can't use them and be comfortable being good at Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean,
you can't be practical with it.
right. Well, dude, they the VR stuff, obviously they had, a VR game where you have a dual disc and that could be cool, but I
They're
think
working on it.
they're working on it, and man, that would be sick. I gotta get one of those VRs, man. I've always wanted to use one.
I'll get one when they get that together. Like when they have a
Yeah,
fully functional Yu-Gi-Oh VR system, I would 100% get it.
I think we shake on that, and I think you can get on there and just cream me at Yu-Gi-Oh because it's not going to be good. I'm learning though. I've been working on the Master Duel, and what I learned this week is a very valuable lesson in Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel.
Which
Don't play
is
it on your phone. Don't play it on your phone because I already have poor vision as it is, and
oh,
I was
okay.
starting to think there. I was starting to think because I was like, I was comparing it to Pokemon Pocket, and I was like, man, Pokemon Pocket just looks so much better. It's so much easier to understand, and I can't even read anything on here. And then I thought, I was like, wait, don't they have like a desktop version of this? And so I talked to one of my other friends that plays competitive on it, and he's like, yeah, don't play it on your phone. You were playing it on your phone. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes a
I
lot of
played
sense.
I play it on my phone when I'm out and about, but not for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I actually used to play it on my tablet more because my tablet, you know,
Sometimes you got it, but for someone like me that's just kind of getting immersed into the game,
oh yeah,
for
you need to
you
play it on
know
a
what a lot
PC.
of cards are, and so I don't. So you can look at them and know what it does. I don't. So I have to read the stuff, and so it was like nearly impossible to try and like read
You're just
stuff and then play
you're just
stuff
like
in
this.
time. Yeah, I mean, I got my first win the other day, and I think it was just because the guy was like, "All right, I'm done with this kid. Like, he can just have the win. He's terrible." Like,
Hey, I did beat somebody in a very grueling duel the other day. Uh, I don't know if it was a time limit loss or he just got tired of dealing with me. He locked himself in a situation where he couldn't beat me,
I see.
and I just
I
had to
see.
wait.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, learning to play Pokemon Pocket, learning to yawns there. Learning to play Pokemon Pocket was so much easier. Gosh, that app is good, and I've talked about it on my channel a little bit, but Pokemon, they just don't miss. Well, that's not necessarily true. They made Detective Pikachu, but they they tend to not miss on bigger stuff they create, and Pokemon Pocket's just that. I mean, it's kind of sickening to think of how much money they're making off of e-cards, and so many
Yeah, that's a
people tried to do it and failed. And obviously Master Duel is doing very well, so Yu-Gi-Oh is doing well in it too. But I feel like, and I don't know enough about the app, but I feel like accessing and like enjoying cards on Poke. Have you played Pokemon Pocket?
No, but I've seen a lot of content around it.
Yeah, everybody and their mom's
Yeah.
uncle is posting about it, but it's so user friendly to like look through your collection of cards and stuff like that. And right off the bat, obviously, I'm gonna look at the desktop version for Master Duel. Maybe things will
Mm.
change, but right off the bat, they just killed that. They did so good at getting collectors a way to look at their e-cards and like enjoy them, and they have the shine. You can look at them, you can like tilt them and stuff like that. They just did so good with that. And so it's just kind of astonishing to think about. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. They're the biggest media franchise in history, and so obviously they got good developers on their side. But Pokemon Pocket is just, comparing it to Yu-Gi-Oh, because I'm learning both card games, and I guess Pokemon's just more simple.
Yeah,
I have
well,
to say.
definitely playing the game is significantly simpler, but also Pokemon's biggest advantage and its biggest selling point is collecting all the Pokemon. Like the cliche catchphrase "Got to catch them all" has always been the selling point for Pokemon since
Yeah.
day one, and it'll be that way to the end of time.
Hmm.
So it makes it easier for like a digital game for them to be like, well, we have people that buy stuff for the TCG, we have people that buy stuff in our figurines or in the video games. Like, let's digitize the game and emphasize on collecting as well as playing, and then you have the best of both worlds.
Right.
Master Duel works out because although they like to make a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh games, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh simulators, Master Duel was the first and really only one that catered to the true like meta competitive scene. And its purpose really is to get people who used to play Yu-Gi-Oh or who are interested in Yu-Gi-Oh to play the game and eventually get them over into the TCG, into the physical card game, which is great because it it does help you learn how the game flows and how combos and certain things work. But what really helps it now is that they've acknowledged it in the competitive scene because they have like side events and YCSs through Master Duel. Hell, Worlds was had the Master Duel sector, which is where Jesse and what was I forgot the kid's name. Jesse Cotton won his Worlds this past year. Um, I'm also forgetting his other team, but I think they call them Team Six. I think is what they called, and as well as was it Joseph Smith against his other team. So
Hmm.
they've made it so that if you play the TCG, it's another alternative, and then it's also going to be as competitive. So it works out both ways.
Yeah, it's great marketing and for both sides, because obviously, if you pull a banger on either opening packs, you're gonna want it in person too. And it kind of promotes itself, and again, I don't does Master Duel have a good way to like look through your cards? I was kind of having trouble finding that on the mobile app version.
They have the filters and everything in the deck building section.
Because on
So I mean, you
TCG Pocket, you can make binders, basically,
oh
and it'll show you your whole collection laid out in a page by set, and so it's wild. Like they really like tied in the completionist aspect, the people who like to put sets together. They really
mhm.
did that well, and so I really wish. And again, I don't have very much experience, so I just didn't notice that same thing on Master Duel.
Yeah, it's not like that because the objective is for you to play the game, not so much be a card collector.
Hmm.
So like you have your filters and your ways when you're in your deck building section to like organize cards by rarity or by type or all that other fun stuff.
Hmm.
Um, because it doesn't really have sets. Like certain cards you can only get in
Right.
certain packs, but you have your master pack, which you can pretty much get everything out of. And then you have individual packs that are more tailored to the archetype. So
And
they
not
tell you
only
like they tell you like where to get the cards, but it's not set oriented like you would be ripping out a pack and kind of organizing it that way.
well, not only that, kind of piggybacking off, you kind of like said it yourself. Pokemon Pocket. those are new sets, their own sets. They're not cards that exist like in real life. What I
Hmm.
noticed about Master Duel, that those are real cards, right?
Yeah,
They're so. In other words, maybe you don't have as good of a TCG like in person marketing complex with Pokemon Pocket as you do with Master Duel, because the game you're playing on Master Duel, you do get to better your skills that would transfer to the actual, like,
real life game.
real life game. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't realize that. I guess I did know it,
Mm.
but I didn't
And
realize it.
it's actually been my biggest tool because when Master Duel first came out, and I was like, all right, let me play this and get my hands dirty because I hadn't played Yu-Gi-Oh in like over like for real in like 8 years. So I was like, I got a lot of catching up to do, and I kind of like dipped a toe in and saw stuff back and forth. I'm like, I understood some of the newer mechanics, but not really a whole lot. I kind of froze at pendulum summoning,
Hmm.
and so playing that really got me really back into the game for real because then it was allowed me to easily catch up, understand some newer archetypes, and see how the game is being played in today's system. So then I think like 6 months later, when I actually started rebuying cards and then actually went to my real locals, that's when I really got like fully
Mm,
acclimated. So a lot of times, a lot of deck strategies, I use Master Duel to practice.
yeah, yeah. It's great that we get those resources now, and that you know they say the medical technology gets better every day. Well, the dual technology is getting better every day as well. They'll be on the operating table on Master Duel one day, right?
And it got me through. It got me through a YCS.
There you go. There
It
you
got me
go.
through a YCS.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of wanted to talk about lastly here. Um, Again, we always just find ways to extend the episode. We got so much good stuff to talk about. We're talking about two media franchises that have endless things to talk about. It's bound to happen. But TCG Player, uh, how do you like it? How many sales you at now on TCG Player?
Let me look that up for you.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm close to level 4. I'm getting there. I think I'm almost near 50 now, and I've done quite a bit on it. I think I have like 2,000 cards listed because I kind of went grind mode and just listed a bunch of base and commons just to see how things move and whatnot. They don't
Hmm.
move very fast. I mean,
No, they
obviously,
don't.
there's a better trick to it. Learning what goes in decks these days. And I didn't really do that. I just kind of passed some time and list a bunch of cards. But
My lifetime sales is at 600 exactly.
600, my
600 exactly.
gosh, dang,
Yep.
that's
Yep. It's at 598, but I have two open orders that I have to package and ship. So
nice.
600.
Nice, yeah. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. That's so many, but it's great. There's a lot of benefits to the site. There are some downsides. Like I want to say that like the and again, I'm not to level 4, so there's certain things I'm not having the privilege of using right now, like the scanner or whatnot.
Mm.
But
I don't use it either, just to give you a heads up.
yeah, I mean, I kind of like if I'm gonna list like a big batch, I kind of like to do it like on my desktop. Like it's kind of tedious, but I have a way I do it, and I can just sling them quick. But the website's kind of like I want to make sure I'm using this draconian. It's like a draconian is like old timey, right? Is
Hmm.
that synonymy? Yeah. So it's sort of draconian to me because it's like a very like one of the very basic versions of like what eBay was back in the day. Or do you know what checkoutmycards.com is?
No, I've never heard of that.
COMC. It's more of a sports card place, but they've adopted TCG as well. That's a great site. Maybe not for you because I don't think there's a whole lot of TCG on there.
I can't find nothing here.
Right. It's sort of tough. But sports card people, they know the site like it's religion. Like it's a very well put together site. I would encourage you to look at it one day, because there are TCG on there. But anyway, it's not really as fluid as that site, which is a bummer. Obviously, there's some issues with listing cards. Searching is kind of a pain in a way. I feel like the searching method could be a little bit better. I know you kind of go in, you look at each card, and you see like the picture uploading. One gripe I have is, and I've seen it for a lot of people, like if you're uploading pictures from mobile, it usually uploads your picture horizontal.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why it does that. It doesn't do that for me when I'm doing it on desktop. But that's already tough, and just like the user friendliness of shopping on TCG Player, I think could be better. I don't know if you have any words towards that.
Um, in certain search filters, yes, because there's some times where I search for a card that I know has a particular printing and it doesn't show up in the search, but that's
Mm-hmm.
also because it might be worded differently. Like the old school Ultimate Rares, they're labeled as UTR.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for an Ultimate Rare version of a card and don't type UTR, or in the search thing you don't see the UTR option show up, you won't see it. But my biggest thing as a consumer there is that optimize button is your best friend. Like I'll
Optimize.
go ahead now and, like, let's say I buy 20 cards. I'll just find the 20 cards I want to buy. I'll just add them to cart. When I go into my cart, I hit the optimize button. And then when you hit that button, it'll give you like 5 different check boxes. It'll be like, keep the condition, keep the seller, keep the rarity, keep the edition, like, basic stuff. And you just check which ones you want it to do. And then when you hit optimize, it gives you 3 new cards from like most reliable to least expensive.
Ah, yeah, that is nice.
So it's a good way to, like, let's say for instance, instead of you getting from 20 different sellers, you have one seller that has half of the items that you want. So it'll grab all those items under those circumstances and put it under that one seller. So that way it's one package instead of 20.
Ah,
And then it also saves you on the shipping, because there'll be the occasions where it's just like you spend $5 or more, it's free shipping. Well, your cart altogether was over $5. So now the shipping's free, which allows them to save money on that side. So that's how I shop through there now. And it's been my lifesaver.
that's a key. That's why people should watch this. You got a key there.
Yeah, and then, like, if you want it like express, or you have, like, what is it? I forgot what the membership thing is called, like the TCG Insider or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like your
Direct, is
last
it
option
direct?
that they give you. Yeah, direct.
Right.
Sorry. Um, the first option that they give you is always the direct only option. So it's just like, hey, all the sellers here are from TCG Player Direct. You're gonna get the fastest shipping, all this other stuff. Well, of course, it'll cost more, but it's like all the sellers here are like high rated sellers.
Ah,
And then the other one is just like, okay, this card fits your criteria. It's the cheapest. It may not be the most noteworthy sellers, but it will, like, it gives you everything you're looking for and all the conditions and all the additions and all that other stuff at its cheapest price.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, they do a lot of stuff right, and that's why I really like selling on there. And I bought a couple things on there. The the thing I had to get used to with it is that it's more for players, and
Yeah.
the problem with that is I'm more of a collector, firsthand, and eBay is kind of what I was getting at. It has such a better way of viewing photos and looking at condition and stuff like that. Whereas the problem with it is, why don't you go to eBay, right? There's a lot of Pokemon on eBay. There's not very much Yu-Gi-Oh like modern stuff from what I've seen.
Yeah.
QCRs and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to come by on eBay because everyone's selling on TCG Player. And that's
Fun
why
fact:
sometimes
TCG Player is owned by eBay. Fun fact.
really,
Yeah, fun fact.
really, I did not know that.
Yeah, I think it was a year or two ago. It was between a year and 2 years ago. eBay bought TCG Player. So a
Ah,
lot of the small changes that happened in TCG Player was influenced by eBay.
interesting. That's really cool. Well, maybe they'll fix it eventually to be for maybe both. But as for now, yeah, it's kind of tough to for someone, with OCD like I have to go in there and try and look for stuff. And I'm definitely not the guy that's going to return stuff to you because
Yeah.
oh, I didn't see this little hairline here, like stuff like that. But um, obviously, the a lot of people need to go to picture taking school a lot of the time, though. That's
Well, it goes both ways because like eBay is definitely where most collectors go. And even on the Yu-Gi-Oh side, like there are some people that try to sell more of the meta stuff, but that's where you run into like lawless land where like people aren't verifying prices and stuff like that. If you're looking for graded or older stuff, then it's perfect.
well,
Because
that's
there's
that's another problem with TCG Player, right? Because people want to get ugh. So that's another problem with TCG players. People will want to get like the price down on cards, so you'll have like I think people make like Smurf accounts on on TCG Player, and they'll go list like 100 Dragon Master Magias at like $14 to get the price down or something to get the average market price down. And there's probably a way they have to like police that, right? But you hear about it a lot. People just trying to get that market price down.
well
It's
that or
really
the
pointless.
new trick now is they put the OCG versions of the cards in there.
Yeah, yeah, that is
And
yeah. That's why you always got to look. Yeah,
because a lot of times you go in there, it's just like, oh, market price of the card is $500, but then you'll see the list price is $20, and you're just like, well, I'll buy the $20 card, but
yeah.
underneath it, it'll say Japanese.
Right, 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 right. And I'll speak to Pokemon a little bit for this. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just negligence on my part. But the OCG for Pokemon is kind of gaining a little bit of traction. I know that there's a lot of collectors out there that it almost seemed, just from my point of view, it seemed almost niche
Hmm.
for like English collectors to prefer Japanese cards to English cards. Now, I get all the jazz behind that, right? Because the Japanese cards are cut better, they're better print quality. A lot of the time, like you compare like Pokemon like SIRs to Japanese SIRs, the Japanese ones pop more. They got more like texture to the cards. There's a lot working in OCG's favor, other than the fact that you can't read it if you don't speak Japanese or you can't read Japanese. So it's kind of interesting to me because I've seen it a lot with, and maybe that's just the newest Pokemon set, like Prismatic Evolutions. These new Evolution cards are coming out. It's going nutty, and even the OCG is getting extremely popular. And again, I don't know if it's just more stuff coming into my algorithm or it's actually this stuff is starting to shoot up because I'm seeing a lot of people collecting Japanese now.
Both. And I can probably answer that for you because, and this is the perfect dynamic between the two Japanese markets.
Mm-hmm.
So for Pokemon, getting stuff from Japan is not as simple as well. It's gotten easier now, but because it's not so common here, people who are finding the resources to be able to get the Japanese versions of it are now the collectors are now flocking in that direction.
Mm.
And it's a good thing because it's nothing wrong with it. And they have better card stocks and all this stuff, and they have better exclusive cards and other things going on over there in Japan. Compared to on the Yu-Gi-Oh side, in Yu-Gi-Oh's market, they treat the game differently in Japan than they do here in the States. In Japan, cards come in multiple rarities. So like the $100 Fiendsmith engraver, you can get that in a common
Oh,
in OCG.
interesting.
So you can get a playset of engravers for like $10. And if you just want to ball out and get like the QCR or the ultimate rare, or whatever it is, that will cost you some money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to buy cards to play the game, it's readily available for you in the OCG.
Mm-hmm.
While it's not like that here. Here, cards are locked behind particular rarities until they are reprinted or banned. And that's when the card values go down.
Right, and the OCG doesn't really matter for us because we can't even use those in competitive play.
And that's the other point. So, because if we could use them in competitive play, people would have very inexpensive decks and people wouldn't buy the sets here because it's just like, well, that card's a $500 card. So, like, I have two Magias in OCG, but one's a secret rare and I think the other one's an ultra. I could buy that for $20 on eBay. But if I want a Magia in English, it's $900 because it's only in QCR.
Right. And honestly, like, I think one of the funniest things about the whole rarities thing and people building their decks is that people who like buy play sets with QCR, they're just doing that to Mog.
It's a no, yeah.
I just got Mog this idiot. That's a Kaiba move. That is a Kaiba move. He would have 3 QCR Blue Eyes White Dragons. He really would, and that's just how he rolls. And I respect the heck out of it.
There's so many YCS competitors that I've seen, and even people that I follow for like coaching and advice and stuff like that. It's just like, oh yeah, I play with Starlights or I play with my QCRs. I'm like, dog.
Team Samurai, right? He had a play set of Magias at one point.
He gave some of them up because I know he put a few of them in his mystery boxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he does a mystery box every holiday season. So and they're nice. The chase cards are nice if you get them, but you
probably have
the bulk of the
chance of pulling one in there than you do in actual packs, really.
Probably.
Yeah.
But like the money is well spent on the play mat and the sleeves and the dice and stuff like that. The getting lucky with the cards is a different situation. But I mean, he's not the only one that does that. Like, Pat does it, Triff does it. Like a lot of people that are really into it, and I guess it's fine because those guys are buying cases at a time, generally of the sets to make sure that they have it for their YCSs. Like their careers outside of being content creators and small business owners, like they play Yu-Gi-Oh at every single YCS.
Yeah.
So they're traveling and they're doing that whole thing. So they kind of need it. But it's just for me personally, I couldn't do that. I
couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
Like the only thing, and I've gotten in this recently, I rarity bumped all of my staples, but they're only secret rares. They're not anything higher than that.
Yeah. Well, secret rares look awesome though. I mean,
yeah,
there is a portion to it where, preference is a key. If we're talking to the difference between $1 and $3, I get decks are really expensive, but sometimes it is worth it. It's the enjoyment of the game. It's like, why do the players wear jerseys? Well, they need to know their numbers, but why do they make the jerseys look sick? Because it looks sick, right? I mean, that's part of the game. It's the aesthetic of it.
You say bling it out a little bit.
Bling it out.
One of those things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got a comment. It's like, bro, the secret is like $1 more. Just buy the secret.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally relate with that. And
although there's one exception. There's one exception I have. My Exodia deck, the 5 pieces of Exodia are QCRs.
Okay. Now we talked about it. Did you get the Crystal Revenge ones, or is
no? I got the QCR. So the ones that came in the tins. So they're not. Right. No. If I hit Starlights, they're staying in a binder.
Yeah.
As hard as hell as to pull those things aren't seeing the light of day.
Yeah.
But those QCRs, I was like, those are like, and that's like $25 in total for all 5 pieces of Exodia and QCR. Like, I can do that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's why he's on my mat. Exodia is one of the OG original. Just you can't really beat it. Well, literally, you can't beat it, right? I mean,
the OG God until the gods came out.
Yeah. Well, I think we touched on everything. Another really good episode. Again, I appreciate you coming on and committing to this. It's really cool to have a different perspective to put in the pot, and I can count. I couldn't use both hands to count. The amount of things I learned just today. That's that's why I chose you, man. You make a good podcast. I mean, what can I say?
It goes both ways because it's like I get to like fully like remind myself on some Pokemon stuff. Because like I said, I know a little bit, not a lot.
We delve into it a little bit. I got to sprinkle it in there. I got to make sure we sprinkle it in there because we got a lot of Pokemon guys that watch. Pokemon guys and gals that watch the channel and want to hear about it. So, but yeah,
I need to dig out my Ancient Mew and my Charizard that's damaged. Yeah.
Wow.
It's locked away in my cabinet.
One note to end on. I did one of my best friends, Nick. He consigned his Charizard from his childhood for me to sell, and 9 times out of 9, I will say, people bring me cards and they're not really worth a whole lot,
But that one,
and I hate being that guy that's got to tell them that, and that's another reason why I wasn't good at sales when I had a sales job. Is I don't like screwing people over. I just don't, and so it's always hard to be that guy to tell someone their cards aren't worth anything. But in this case, it was, but I will preface, there's a little bit of interesting. Linglish on this, as they said in the office. It wasn't a Charizard. It was a Dracofleur.
Dracofleur.
A French Charizard that he got in the U.S. from a U.S. Walmart.
Also, somehow, some way he got a...
And it was first edition. Was
it one of the mystery packs? Because I know some of the Walmart mystery packs will give you a foreign card.
He got an actual French first edition booster pack from Walmart, base set 1, and pulled the Charizard. He said he bought 1 pack and pulled the Charizard. And so he consigned this to me. He's like, yeah, I'd love to get, $50, $100 out of it. And I'm like, no, this is like $900. He had it in very good condition. It had a little bit of scuffing on it, but it was probably about a 7.
You're like, big dog, I would love to get you $50 to $100 out of this, but this card's almost $1,000.
No, and that's how you know I'm a good friend, because I could have told him, bet I'll get you, and just sell it for a bunch. But no, it ended up selling for like $950 on eBay or something like that. So we sold it at the right time. I don't know if it'd be worth that today, because there's a little bit of a dip, after that.
It's like you hit him with it, just like, you want a $50 to $100? That'll be my 10% fee I'll get for this.
No, for sure, dude, for sure.
You're gonna get like $900.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big card, and it was just so interesting that he got it from here in a English French booster pack. So, yeah, it was cool.
Wild.
Yeah. But anyway, man. This will be Wednesday's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be out again Friday. Well, we won't be out. We will be up again Friday, I should say. We ain't missing. Out Friday. We got a streak going now, so we got to keep it. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Later, guys.